Standing Still with the Sun. An ode to the winter solstice. Meteors are showering overhead this solstice night, this nearly cold moon night, deep, wintering night. The North Pole is turning south again to the echoes of centuries of singing and feasting, fires and dancing, sometimes with poetry and pomegranates, sometimes with bathing in holy rivers, giving alms to beggars and Brahmins, round the death and rebirth of the light, round the last and next seasons of the earth, sol sistere, a night for the sun and each soul to stand still, an invitation to feel your sacred place in nature, your passage through time, the vital part you play in this great mystery, in this endlessly curious, wildly wondrous journey. Welcome to the latest Floating Poetry broadcast, and thank you for leaning in to show 137 in my ongoing weekly series, coming to you live from the sea-washed, sea-gulled coast of Rhode Island. This is your poet and poetorialist, Colin Goedecke, a voice for living our days more fully, more alively, more poetically. In broadcast 136, we revisited the unknown, a theme we began musing on in broadcast 82. We touched into other dimensions of the uncharted, the unnamed, the unrevealed. Ones inside of, outside of, and sometimes far beyond ourselves. At or over the edges of our imaginations. And how we can live and dance with these unknowns and unknowables. Well, this week, we're feeling the earth, exploring, bringing our outer and inner senses, our sentience, to experience it more intimately. Mother Earth, the Gaia, this extraordinary planet we earthlings belong to, live all our days and dreams on. Nature ever present around us, overhead, underfoot, feeling its wild aliveness, its innocence and consciousness, its wonderment, its nourishment. So, let's sense into it a while together through the earthscape of cultural commentary, poetry, and inquiry I've shaped for us, and see what arises, especially in your body, in your molecules. And because the software, on a side note, that I'm using seems to be acting up all of a sudden at the last hour, in case I do lose you, I'll try and get back on to continue live with you. And hopefully that doesn't happen, but I'm just letting you know so that it's not a mystery. Well, why don't we start with this poem? Feel the earth. Slow down, all the way down. Feel the earth, the sentient earth. See and touch it. Hear it. Taste it. Where you are. Wherever you are. Let it hold you. Let it feel you. Let it breathe you. Let it fill you. Poem from Santa Fe, New Mexico. September 1999. Apodaca Hill. I follow the dancing ball moon over the rolling waves of red earth, listening to the chorus of crickets, coyotes, and stars, savoring as they sing the scents of pinon and cedar, of sweet juniper cracking in the fire where we sit together in big sky silence, sharing the company of clouds long, luminous, and still, contemplating us, contemplating them. Apodaca Hill. Spring Oak by Galway Canal. Above the quiet valley, an unrippled lake, while woodchucks burrowed new holes and birds sang, and radicals began downward, and shoots committed themselves to the spring, and entered with tiny, industrious earthquakes. A dry-rooted, winter-twisted oak revealed itself slowly, and one morning, while the valley underneath was still sleeping, it shook itself, and it was all green. Thank you, Galway Canal. Beautiful poem. One of many favorites of mine. Maybe now yours. A poem from Germany, from Berlin, March 2015. A Morning on Earth. It's an early spring morning of bell song and bird song, sun song and crocus song, tree song, green song, Erdenlied. Walt Whitman, as I ebbed with the ocean of life. Just read you the opening. As I ebbed with the ocean of life, as I wended the shores I know, as I walked where the ripples continually wash you, Paumanok, where they rustle up hoarse and sibilant, where the fierce old mother endlessly cries for her castaways, I, musing late in the autumn day, gazing off southward, held by this electric self, out of the pride of which I utter poems, was seized by the spirit that trails in the lines underfoot, the rim, the sediment that stands for all the water and all the land of the globe. The rest of it is quite wonderful, but I have other things to share, so you can find that on your own devices, literally and figuratively. Here's Zuni Rituals. It's from a Zuni legend, The Earthquake by Catherine Kennedy. There was an earthquake at where the pine tree stands. The rocks fell, the people had fear. The priests assembled, the chiefs, the head ones. They took counsel. Call a fleet runner, let a messenger be sent forth to Hopi. Call Tekaminka, Echo, the god who dwells south of Itiwana. Where the earth is cracked, they have placed bundles of feathers. They have made mats of reeds, lakine. The daylight people do not know how to shut up the earth. O Earth Mother, do not open up, nor let wild animals, nor floods destroy thy children, thy valuable children, thy valuable children. Thank you, Catherine Kennedy. The Earthquake. Here's an honoring poem for a dear Zimbabwean friend of mine, a soul sister, Nadia Cohen, and the heritage of her deeply connected to nature people. This is Bush woman, tribal woman, head-dressed a priestess of African highlands and forests, whose spirit flows like the great rivers and falls, flowers like the flame lily, flies like the sunbird and snake eagle, feels the essence of the earth underfoot, the deep, creating, sustaining energies of the universe all around her, all inside her. The Bushwoman. The activist mythologist Michael Meade, Meade, in his reflections on the solstice, The old poetic idea that making beauty gives us a place to stand has greater meaning in a world gone wrong. In making beauty at the darkest time on earth, we stand in relation to the beauty and wonder of the natural world and in connection to the radiance of the cosmos. Anything from a single candle to a glowing shrine or a bonfire can become a symbol of our longing to bring the light of spirit and the touch of healing to life on earth. Beautifully said. This is from thesacredscience.com. Nowadays, in the Western world, the shift to winter barely registers for most people, except that maybe it's time to haul your heavy coat out of storage and turn up the dial on your thermostat. However, when we carry on living the same way, regardless of the season, we lose the opportunity to connect with nature and with our deepest selves. Even though we can control the climate indoors, it's vital that we pay attention to the lessons that the earth is sharing with us outside. Ancient cultures like the Egyptians, the Maori, the Maya, the Celts, the Druids, the Inca, and so many others all celebrated solstice. In the Chinese Taoist tradition, winter solstice is considered the most yin, dark, feminine, damp day of the calendar. Energy comes to a momentary point of pause before it gives birth to yang, light, masculine, heat. Well, I'm wondering, of course, as I often do, about your experiences. And here, of course, of feeling the earth. What was your first awareness of really feeling into the earth? How old were you? Where were you? What was or is still your sense memory of that? What times and places in your life have you felt most in touch with the earth in a purely visceral way? And what about an emotional way? Would you like to be more connected with it, with the natural world, the living world? Have you experienced real wilderness anywhere in the world? If so, what was it like? What did it awaken or stir or evoke in your body or your spirit? Do you believe the earth is here to serve us, serve you? Or might it be the other way around? Are you living in harmony with the earth, being kind to it? It is, after all, a living organism like you, in a very large way. Do you listen in to the earth? If so, how? And how does it speak to you? What does it say? Has it said? Is it telling you in its way, in its own language? If you could have a heart-to-heart talk with the earth, how would you begin? Is there something you'd like it to know? Or a question you'd like it to answer? Have you thought much about being not a citizen of somewhere, but an earthling, an earth dweller, one of 8 billion sharing the same earth, the same beautiful, irreplaceable planet? And if you rose to that higher place of belonging and connection, how differently might you feel? Might you hold it, this great body of life and life-giving, more sacredly? I was listening to a talk the other night by Carolyn Miss, and it ended with the line, "Make this planet your monastery." Well, I hope you find these questions worth pondering, maybe bringing up others here or later. Now on we go. Earth men, earth women, earth children. On we go. writer Annie Dillard, on the winter solstice and how the snowy season awakens us to life, from her book, The Abundance. I just have one thing in here I wanted to share. Is beauty itself an intricately fashioned lure, the cruelest hoax of all? A wind rose, quickening, it invaded my nostrils, vibrated my gut. I stirred and lifted my head. No, I've gone through this 1,000,000 times. Beauty is not a hoax. Beauty is real. I would never deny it. The appalling thing is that I forget it. The Snow's Feet Slip by Marty Walsh. The snow's feet slip. Out from under it and down the mountain slope it comes, flat on its back, white skirt and billowy petticoats blowing back over its head, whip-lashing, rickety pine sapling as it passes, bowling boulders left and right until it comes to a juddering, sudden, heart-thumping stop just shy of the little village in the valley far below. Thank you, Marty Walsh. From Adam Gopnik's wonderful book, Winter, the New Yorker writer, Adam Gopnik. If we didn't remember winter and spring, it wouldn't be as lovely. If we didn't think of spring and winter, or search winter to find some new emotion of its own to make up for the absent ones, half of the keyboard of life would be missing. We would be playing life with no flats or sharps, on a piano with no black keys. Well, paired with that is this. As we enter officially winter, today, tonight, earth feelings from spring. I wade, barefoot, ankle deep, through the spring green meadow filled with sweet grass and dotted shoals of dandelions. Lie down face to sun and bird-singing sky, in a pool of pale and purple ajuga. Let my eyes slip closed, my limbs drift, senses float in the shallows of the slow-tiding afternoon. Murmurs from the Earth of This Land by Muriel Rukeyser. Murmurs from the earth of this land, from the caves and craters, from the bowl of darkness, down watercourses of our dragon childhood where we ran barefoot. We stand as growing women and men. Murmurs come down where water has not run for 60 years. Murmurs from the tulip tree and the catalpa, from the axe of the stars, from the house on fire ringing of glass, from the abandoned iron-black mill. Stars with voices crying like mountain lions over forgotten colors. Blue directions and a horizon, milky around the cities where the murmurs are deep enough to penetrate deep rock. Trapping the lightning bird, trapping the red central roots. You know the murmurs. They come from your own throat. You are the bridges to the city and the blazing food plant green. The sun of plants speaks in your voice, and the infinite shells of accretions, a beach of dream before the smoking mirror. You are close to that surf, and the leaves heated by noon, and the star axe, the miners' glitter walls. The crests of the sea are the same strength you wake with. The darkness is the eyes of children forming for a blaze of sight, and soon, soon, everywhere your own silence, who drink from the crater, the nebula, one another, the changes of the soul. Murmurs from the earth of this land. Muriel Rukeyser, thank you. Words from the earth before you ask. Land dwellers, sea rovers, tillers, spelunkers. Before you ask the questions many ask, have asked since man first appeared here, or may in time dawn in your mind, or form on the lips of your fellow creatures. About me. Look, from heart and root, across this place, at this oasis, into this whole intelligence I offer you freely, share with you generously. And you might then sense the answers, might well see, feel, and receive your answers. Well, interestingly, as I was putting all our material together, and I had that in my hand, I remembered there was a poem somewhere by William Stafford. Here it is. In response to a question, what does the earth say? The earth says, have a place, be what that place requires, hear the sound the birds imply, and see as deep as ridges go behind each other. Some people call their scenery flat, they're only pictures framed by what they know. I think around them rise a riches and a loss too equal for their chart, but absolutely tall. The earth says every summer have a ranch that's minimum, one tree, one well, a landscape that proclaims a universe. Sermon of the hills, hallelujah mountain, highway guided by the way the world is tilted, reduplication of mirage, flat evening, a kind of ritual for the wavering. The earth says where you live, wear the kind of color that your life is. Gray shirt for me. And by listening with the same bowed head that sings, draw all things into one song. Join the sparrow on the lawn, and row that easy way, the rage without met by the wings within that guide you anywhere the wind blows. Listening, I think that's what the earth says. It's very still right now. It's unusually still, actually. I wonder if you're feeling that too. Well, this is on being an earth ecstatic. Poet Diane Ackerman. This is from her book, her excellent book, An Alchemy of the Mind. She says, I'm an earth ecstatic, and my creed is simple. All life is sacred. Life loves life. And we are capable of improving our behavior toward one another. As basic as that is, for me, it's also tonic and deeply spiritual, glorifying the smallest life form and embracing the most distant stars. Wonderful. And what say you, dear listeners? Should we all become earth ecstatics? Imagine the transformation if we did. Or even if just a lot more of us did. Linda Hasselstrom's poem, Planting Peas. It's not spring yet, but I can't wait anymore. I get the hoe, pull back the snow from the old furrows, expose the rich, dark earth. I bare my hand and dole out shriveled peas, one by one. I see my grandmother's hand doing just this, dropping peas into gray gumbo that clings like clay. This moist earth is rich and dark as chocolate cake. Her hands cradle baby chicks. She finds kittens in the loft and hands them down to me, safe beside the ladder leading up to darkness. I miss her smile, her blue eyes, her biscuits and gravy, but mostly her hands. I push a pea into the earth, feel her hands pushing me back. She'll come in May, she says, in long straight rows, dancing in light green dresses. Lovely. Planting Peas, Linda Hasselstrom. Thank you. First Morel by Amy Fleury. Up from wood rot, wrinkling up from duff and homely damps, spore-born and called like a meager seer, it pushes aside earth to make a small place from decay. Bashful, it brings honeycombed news from below of the coming plenty and everything rising. Thank you, Amy Fleury. Well, I find the metaphors of earth in many poems, but in love poems, not least most beautiful, Neruda to me. Pablo Neruda is one master of using them. And here's Helen Hoyt, H-O-Y-T, like something of earth. Like something of earth are your brown, beautiful hands, brown as an autumn leaf, a freckled trout, speckled and brown as a gull's egg, like pebbles glinting in creek shallows where water ripples over gold sand. Like a tree's branching is the spread of your fingers, out from the width of the palm, from the pillar of the wrist, the knuckles and long finger bones shapely and strong, as a tree's roots thrusting through the ground, through stones. Strong as stones are your hands, certain as stones, quiet as stones, as smooth as hard, reposed as stones half sunk in the earth, as great rocks on a shore that waves beat against and are stilled. Thank you, Ellen Hoyt. How about this poem by May Swenson, Earth, Your Dancing Place. Beneath heaven's vault, remember always walking through halls of cloud, down aisles of sunlight, or through high hedges of the green rain. Walk in the world, high-heeled with swirl of cape, hand at the sword hilt of your pride. Keep a tall throat, remain aghast at life. Enter each day as upon a stage, lighted and waiting for your step. Crave upward as flame, have keenness in the nostril. Give your eyes to agony or rapture. Train your hands as birds to be brooding or nimble. Move your body as the horses sweeping on slender hooves over crag and prairie with fleeing manes and aloofness of their limbs. Take earth for your own large room and the floor of the earth carpeted with sunlight and hung round with silver wind for your dancing place. Wonderful. Thank you, May Swenson. And shall we dance, friends? Shall we dance? The earth's dance floor is open. I say let's dance. Keep dancing. From the 1912 book Winter by Dallas Lore Sharp. He was called one of America's greatest nature writers. And this was his book Winter on the delicate dialogue between nature and human nature, which he said was a way to catch the spirit of the season, the large, free, strong, fierce, wild soul of winter, to channel the bitter boreal might that is wild and fierce and strong and free and large within us. So in that book he says, I love the winter, and so do all children. Its bare fields, empty woods, flattened meadows, its ranging landscapes, its stirless silences, its tumult of storms, its crystal nights with stars new cut in the glittering sky, its challenge, defiance, and mighty wrath. I love its wild life, its birds and animals, the shifts they make to conquer death. And then, out of this winter watching, I love the gentleness that comes, the sympathy, the understanding. One gets very close to the heart of nature through such understanding. Can we come to stillness, if you're not already still at the moment, this solstice day, this solstice night, and also often beyond it, and tune our senses in stillness? Be still and listen to what the earth below your feet is singing, to the stories the young and old swaying trees are telling, to the conversations of the hawks and the herons, the whisperings of the planets and stars, the jubilations of the sun, the rain, the ocean waves. Be still and listen with your spirit's ear to everything of note that's here, all ready to be heard. I spent 2 summers in the Cyclades on the ancient island of Gaia, which were anciently beautiful, the land and the seascape, full of energies and stories, mythologies. And one day there, was filled with a vibrant desire to experience the spring. So I was there in the summer, but I wanted to be there in the spring too, one day. Haven't yet, but this was back in 2012. Zoe, life. I want to stand here in Anoxie, spring, when these slopes, stream banks, shaded gorges, crevices, and village streets are awash in wildflowers, when the landscape flows with fragrant herbs, orchids, and mosses, with juniper and pistachio, roses, cornflags, waterflags, cactus, and chestnut blooms, royal oaks, flows wild over the bed of raw, renewing earth, over the schists, the red and white veins of marble, the deep chords of limonite and hematite, and caches of long-buried coins whose dog-starred rays shine again after millennia. Zoe. Mary Oliver. When I am among the trees. When I am among the trees, especially the willows and the honey locust, equally the beech, the oaks and the pines, they give off such hints of gladness. I would almost say that they save me, and daily. I am so distant from the hope of myself, in which I have goodness and discernment, and never hurry through the world, but walk slowly and bow often. Around me the trees stir in their leaves and call out, "Stay a while." The light flows from their branches, and they call again. It's simple, they say. And you too have come into the world to do this, to go easy, to be filled with light, and to shine. When I am among the trees. Thank you, Mary Oliver. And shall we heed the words of the sacred trees, these trees and other trees, to go easy, to be filled with light, to shine? Why not? What are we waiting for? Joseph Stroud, Ode to the Smell of Firewood. Late when the stars open in the cold, I opened the door. The sea was galloping in the night. Like a hand from the dark house arose the intense perfume of firewood. A visible scent, as if the tree were alive, as if it still pulsed. Visible like a robe, visible like a broken branch. Overwhelmed by balsamic darkness, I went inside the house. Outside, the points of heaven were glimmering like magnetic stones, and the smell of firewood touched my heart like fingers, like jasmine, like memories. It was not the sharp smell of pines. It was not the cracked skin of eucalyptus, nor was it the green perfume of vineyards, but something more secret, because that fragrance exists once only. And there, of all that lived in the world, in my own house, by night, near the winter sea, there it was, waiting for me. The smell of the deepest rose, the heart cut from the earth, and something entered me like a wave unloosed from time, and I was lost in myself when I opened the door to the night. Thank you, Joseph Stroud. And to that unloosing of ourselves from time and thought and structure. From an interview with Peter Wohlleben in 2021. He, by the way, if you don't know him, he's a forester in the best sense of the word. He wrote The Hidden Life of Trees, What They Feel, How They Communicate, Discoveries from a Secret World. Marvelous, absolutely fascinating book, a page-turner of a book. His newest one is The Heartbeat of Trees, Embracing Our Ancient Bonds with Forests and Nature. I just wanted to give us a slice on the wavelength of trees. We know that trees care for each other, and nowadays we also know about epigenetics. Just as we pass learned experiences to our children, trees are able to do the same thing. We know from recent research that seedlings know exactly how to deal with new conditions, and that's good news in times of climate change. They're constantly learning, lifelong learning. So, for example, when a 1,000-year-old oak makes seedlings, those seedlings have the experience from the parents' 1,000 years. They're able to change their way of living so they can survive in new conditions. How about that? He has more, much more, but I thought you'd find that interesting. So, Frederick Chopin said, "Even in winter, it shall be green in my heart." About that. From Secrets from the Center of the World by poet Joy Harjo and photographer Stephen Strom. Here's the preface paragraph. All landscapes have a history, much the same as people exist within cultures, even tribes. There are distinct voices, languages that belong to particular areas. There are voices inside rocks, shallow washes, shifting skies. They are not silent. And there is movement, not always the violent motion of earthquakes associated with the Earth's motion or the steady unseen swirl through the heavens, but other motion, subtle, unseen, like breathing. A motion, a sound, that if you allow your own inner workings to stop long enough, moves into the place inside you that mirrors a similar landscape. You too can see it, feel it, hear it, know it. Here's two of Joy Harjo's poems in there. It's true the landscape forms the mind. If I stand here long enough, I'll learn how to sing. None of that country and western heartbreak stuff, or operatic duels, but something cool as the blues, or close to the sound of a Navajo woman singing early in the morning. This land is a poem of ochre and burnt sand I could never write, unless paper were the sacrament of sky, and ink the broken line of wild horses staggering the horizon several miles away. Even then, does anything written ever matter to the earth, wind, and sky? Thank you, Joy Harjo. We spoke of dancing on the earth, with the earth. And here's a piece about an earth dancer, a real one, a once daughter-in-law of mine from the Pacific Northwest, who made it a ritual. This is called Elysium. I think of you dancing across a forest floor, an ancient forest filtering morning light and the high pointed notes of hidden birds. I think of you gliding through this sea of green forest flowing with mosses and ferns, your bare, star-stemmed body, all cream and rose, mirroring the grace and joy of a doe, as you move swiftly over the fragrant earth, so free and flush with life and loveliness. Elysium. Marion Louise Bliss's poem, The Earth is Builded. Out of the sun, design of living flamed, slept, pushed and cried a path until the lush, cool tops submerged the ravaged rock, and shy as the first ammonite, the first bird flew. Below, dust turned to green, above it turned to blue. Each moving thing, each law by which it moved, seemed shaped to fit the plan by which the mind was grooved. And these grooves were a part of the builded earth, steps for the climbing fist of birth, cells of a world, encompassed by the stars we know, a domicile too vast for death, where only life may go. Thank you, Marion Bliss. I also love the idea of a poet named Bliss. What could be better? The Outstretched Earth by Jane Mead. Do you know what whole fields are? They are fields with a dog and a moon. Do you know the answer? For the many. Except there would be vineyards, meaning there would, as usual, be commerce, money, and a game of sorts to play it. Meanwhile, Emma, lost in the cover crop, top of her head bobbing through mustard flour. It is, after all, still here, the real world, the outstretched earth. Rain, soil, copper for pennies. Thank you, Jane Mead. Well, we are here such a fleeting while, my friends. So why not feel and treat it all the more preciously, earth not least. Here's beauty continues. While countries, armies, and ideologies battle, bees make honey. Butterflies float and drink the nectar from gently open flowers. While spouses, neighbors, bosses, and workers quarrel, the sun still sets and rises, brings color, splendor, to snow-hatted mountains, old-growth forests, bird-filled meadows. The moon still shines upon the faces of oceans and lakes, fjords and flowing rivers, on fish-filled bays, clear streams and tarns, tide pools of mussels, anemones, sea stars. While attentions, actions turn to ungraced choices and places of being, unlovely behaving, in the world's towns and villages, houses and metropolises, beauty everywhere, ever here, ever pure, continues. From The Hour of Land by Terry Tempest Williams. How do we find our way back to a world interrelated and interconnected whose priority is to thrive and evolve? What kind of belief systems are emerging now that reinforce and contribute to a world increasingly disconnected from nature? And what about the belief, my belief, in all that is wild? I return to the wilderness to remember what I have forgotten, that the world can be wholesome and beautiful, that the harmony and integrity of ecosystems at peace is a mirror to what we have lost. We are at a crossroads. We can continue on the path we have been on in this nation that privileges profit over people and land, or we can unite as citizens with a common cause, the health and wealth of the earth that sustains us. If we cannot commit to this kind of fundamental shift in our relationship to people and place, then democracy becomes another myth perpetuated by those in power who care only about themselves. The time has come for acts of reverence and restraint on behalf of the earth. We have arrived at the hour of land. Thank you so much for that. I greatly believe that and do my best to champion that. Well, there are many ways we can engage, embrace our dear earth, and tenderly love it. Kiss the earth with your feet, the sky with your eyes, the sea with your ears, your life with your softly parted heart. And now coming into the last sharings for this broadcast and this winter solstice. Into the wild green wonder, an ode to spring as we dream past winter even now. Under spring's wild blue wonder, we enter its new and renewing green, enchanting us round parks and woodlands, ponds, hillsides, meadowlands, awakening us through all our years, all the ages of earth, all the pages of history, poetry, mythology, with its symphony of daring colors, its delicate flowering, its essencing of innocence, ecstasy of purest presence, beckoning us to fall once again into the wild, green wonder of its outstretched arms, like forever young and eager lovers. One more Joseph Stroud for us, for you. Simple gifts. The sun makes sugar in the melon, gathers sweetness in us, builds a tower of joy in the paradise we call body. Everywhere I look, I see voices, the loquat's pale gold fruit, the cottonwood's leaves, sprays of lilac. Even the mockingbird high in the walnut tree listens to the loud bees as if within a honeycomb of music. Thank you again, Joseph Stroud. From the Marginalian on how to be a citizen of Earth, learning from the children of Palau. This is from The Sound of the Sea, Seashells and the Fate of the Oceans by Cynthia Barnett. The Republic of Palau, a tiny, vast, spirited Pacific island nation midway between Australia and Japan, crowned with coral castles and radiant with otherworldly jellyfish, voted for the world's first constitutional ban on nuclear and biological weapons, overriding political pressure from the titanic United States to continue testing and storing its own nuclear arsenal there. A generation later, Palau revised its immigration policy to become Earth's first country with an ecological pledge stamped into the passport of every visitor. It's a pledge signed upon entering and addressed to the children of the islands. It reads, "Children of Palau, I take this pledge as your guest to preserve and protect your beautiful and unique island home. I vow to tread lightly, act kindly, and explore mindfully. I shall not take what is not given. I shall not harm what does not harm me. The only footprints I shall leave are those that will wash away." Wow, how marvelous is that? Maybe we should take a page from Palau's book. Michael Meade, once more too. Some words from this applied mythologist. MosaicVoices.org is his organization. As the chaos in the world increases, most ideas of the future become fatalistic, yet the situation only seems, quote, hopeless when viewed from the narrow logic of a collapsing worldview. Old ways of seeing the world are blocking more vital paths of imagination, vision, and healing. The point is not simply evolution or progress. Rather, there needs to be a collective rite of passage that transforms our worldview. The agony of the earth calls for each of us to defeat the growing alienation and isolation of life in order to become more human and be more present. The issue is not the pretension of, quote, saving the planet, but rather finding deeper ways of serving the earth. What we learn from mythic stories and imagination is how our human nature can make us part of the ground of being and the vital pulse of the living world. Yes. Yes. Here's the great naturalist John Muir on the intimacy of being. The sun shines not on us, but in us. The rivers flow not past, but through us. Thrilling, tingling, vibrating every fiber and cell of the substance of our bodies, making them glide and sing. The trees wave and the flowers bloom in our bodies as well as our souls, and every bird song, wind song, and tremendous storm song of the rocks in the heart of the mountains is our song, our very own, and sings our love. How beautiful is this? How exuberant, how inspiring. John Muir. I'd like to have sit with him over good conversation. Steve Sanfield, The Earth Shakes. The earth shakes just enough to remind us. Ross Gay's poem, Thank You. If you find yourself half naked and barefoot in the frosty grass, hearing, again, the earth's great sonorous moan that says you are the heir of the now and gone, that says all you love will turn to dust and will meet you there, do not raise your fist. Do not raise your small voice against it, and do not take cover. Instead, curl your toes into the grass. Watch the cloud ascending from your lips. Walk through the garden's dormant splendor. Say only, thank you. Thank you. And thank you, Ross Gay. How about an awakened invocation to earth, to nature? Next to last. Give us this day. Give us this day our daily wind, to fill our sails, ruffle our curtains, caress our faces. Give us this day our daily sun, to light our way, warm our mornings, color our day's endings. Give us this day our daily sea, to voyage on, gather our fish from, refresh our bodies in. This new day of simply living on the earth, of breathing in this earth and all its givings. Give us this day to openly, gladly receive these gifts. And last for now, with a bow to the solstice, the winter solstice upon us, this night, this day, an ode. This one from December 21st, 2020, here in Rhode Island. Green light. The light returns through the winter evergreens. Sun climbs again towards summer, does not disappear forever, nor all the other leaves, neither kingly oaks nor goddess birches. Fallen but for a season. Sacred and hearty hues remind us of the life and the world before now and after, the length of an age. May ours be long. Holly invites us to wear its sprigs in our hair, its cheering berries in our hearts. Bring to mind the year's ebb and flow of light and darkness. Shelter the fairy spirits of the forest. Mistletoe speaks without words of the free and fertile. Ivy to our innate tenacity. Scots pine, chieftain tree, sweetest of woods, dried and bonfired with the west windward juniper, point us to cleanse and purify. And rosemary, herb of the sun, calls us to strong focus and flavor, memory and resonance. Each and all green lights for us to travel a winter with, accompany us a winter through, signal us in nature's form, show us the beauty, the enduring mystery of other anciently sacred realms and here remembered ways. Thank you again, one and all, for leaning in and feeling in, for sharing these broadcasts with others who'd welcome and enjoy them, and for those of you who send gifts of appreciation for a program or for all the creating I do of these free weekly shows, all to nourish and uplift hearts, minds, and spirits. Is there a theme you'd like to suggest? Let me know. My email is colin@thepoetorialist.com. I'd also love to know what your experience was of this show on Feeling the Earth. To send a contribution of any amount, you can do so by Venmo to fivefold, F-I-V-E-F-O-L-D, at pipeline.com, or by PayPal to me at the same email, or by regular mail to P.O. Box 1032, Westerly, Rhode Island, 02891, or through my site, thepoetorialist.com, in the Donate tab. Yes, patrons can at times host or sponsor me as a working poet in residence. I welcome that, in an agreed place in the world for an agreed time, in a given season, to create a new flight of poetic art and dedicate it to them. Email me to explore. Meanwhile, you can hear all the broadcasts online, on YouTube, on the floating poetry playlist. I hope you'll lean in soon again. Until then, dear listeners, I hope you take every opportunity, large and small, to feel the earth. Love and appreciate it, celebrate it, and care deeply about it, care greatly for its well-being. One our own being is intimately, vitally tied to. And to you and all, gladdest tidings for the arriving winter holidays. Goodbye for now, and good spirits.